A brand new Land Rover Defender in this country will set you back somewhere between $88,000 and well over $200,000 on the road, depending on the spec. 200 grand for a four-wheel drive. And that's before you've added the bullbar, the drawers, the full touring setup most of you are going to bolt on anyway. Now here's what I want to put on the table straight away, because this whole conversation only works if it's honest. The Defender is a good-looking machine, turns heads at the servo, it's got genuine off-road hardware underneath. People love the badge, I get it, but the reputation that Badge is trading on right now, the go anywhere, never die legend that made Land Rover famous, was not built by the turbocharged four-cylinder petrol sitting in the showroom today. It was built by engines that are no longer in production. Engines sitting in second-hand cars you can buy right now for a fraction of what a new Defender costs, and some of them aren't even Land Rovers. I'm Greg, 53 years old, 32 years running a country garage. I've got nothing to sell you. What I do have is a lift, a set of tools, and 3 decades of watching what breaks and what doesn't. I've seen the cars back on the hoist at 40,000 kilometers, and I've seen the ones that roll through at 400,000, looking almost new inside when you crack the sump. So today I'm counting down 5 dirt cheap four-wheel drives and utes I would genuinely put my name to. Workshop reality, not internet mythology. 5 of them, counting down to the one I'd buy with my own money. Let's get into it. Before anything else, I want to be clear about the Defender itself, because the same principle applies here that applies everywhere in this game. A reputation built on an old engine does not automatically transfer to a new one. The original Defender that built this legend ran the 300 TDI and the TD5. The 300 TDI is a 2.5-litre mechanical injection diesel, no ECU to fail, no DPF to clog. A construction so simple that the British Army kept ordering it in military form even after the civilian market had moved on. That engine, properly maintained, will go well past 300,000 kilometres. Some have gone considerably further. The TD5 added electronic injection and more power, which is progress in some ways, but it came with documented head gasket weaknesses in early models and ECU concerns that seriously worried the hardcore off-road community. Land Rover were aware enough to keep the 300 TDI running in special order form for buyers who refused the switch. Now compare that to the new Defender. The entry models are running a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol in a vehicle that costs 6 figures. The reliability picture on that generation is not comforting. The 2020 to 2025 models racked up 229 complaints to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. There are documented cases of windscreens cracking without any impact at all. Some owners going through 2 or 3 complete electrical failures mid-drive, power steering shutting down, DC-DC converter failures leaving vehicles stranded on the side of motorways with the family in the back. One owner described losing all power on a highway at speed with no warning lights beforehand whatsoever. That is not me being dramatic. That is the official complaint database. The point is not that the new Defender is a disaster. The point is that the badge alone is not the guarantee. The engineering underneath it is what tells you how long it lasts. And once you understand that, you start looking at second-hand vehicles very differently. Here's what actually makes a diesel engine last. A cast iron block that handles heat without distorting. A strong forged crank. Injection that isn't buried under a stack of emission systems, all taking turns to fail. The fewer electronics, sensors, actuators, and control units that can throw a code and strand you, the more likely the engine is to keep going when things get difficult. The engines I'm about to walk you through share those qualities. Most were built before every diesel had to wear a DPF and an AdBlue system just to pass regulations. That simplicity is not a weakness. For people who actually use these vehicles hard in the real world, that simplicity is the whole point. Number 5. The Mitsubishi Pajero and Triton with the 3.2-litre 4M41 diesel from roughly 2006 to 2010. This is the cheapest way onto this list. Find a tidy example for sensible money, and what you're getting is an honest old diesel with solid bones. In my workshop, these things roll through at 200,000 kilometers in sound condition. They'll see 300,000 without much drama, and considerably further if you look after the injection system. The catch. There's a timing chain in there with a top guide that wears. Get it replaced somewhere around the 200 to 250,000 kilometer mark before it causes you any grief. Not an expensive part, not a complicated job. It's a planned service item rather than a catastrophic surprise. Do that, and the 4M41 Mitsubishi is one of the best dollars per kilometre buys in the country. Budget 4-wheel drive money with a lifespan that'll embarrass plenty of things that cost twice as much. Number 4. The Toyota Land Cruiser Prado 150 series with the 3-litre 1KD diesel, specifically the pre-filter examples from around 2009. And here's the question this one forces you to ask. If a used Prado can do 90% of what a new Defender does in genuine off-road terms at a third of the price, what exactly are you paying the extra for? A clean 150 series Prado in that window will cost you $60,000 to $70,000. Compare that to $90,000 and upward for a new Defender at base spec. Realistically, over $100,000 once you've added anything useful. The Prado has Toyota Dina, proven driveline, and parts availability that is borderline embarrassing in its ease. Break down somewhere remote and you will find a Toyota dealer or a mechanic who's dealt with that engine 100 times before. The catches. The early 1KD engines had timing chain wear. The later ones are caught up in the same diesel particulate filter drama that saw Toyota face federal court action in Australia. Between 2015 and 2020, approximately 264,000 Hilux, Prado and Fortuner vehicles were sold in this country, fitted with a DPF the court ruled was not of acceptable quality. Toyota lost the appeal, so buy one that predates the filter generation, get the timing chain inspected, and you've got genuine cruiser engineering for Prado money. Number 3. The Toyota Hilux. Listen carefully here, because this is where more people get burned than anywhere else on this list. The Hilux name carries enormous weight in this country, and some of that is well deserved. But not every old Hilux diesel is the unkillable legend the internet sells you. The 3-litre 1KD FDV, which most people think of as the modern Hilux diesel, fitted through the mid-2000s to around 2015, has a known reputation in the trade for injector seat leaks and cracked pistons. That's not speculation. That's what mechanics discuss when nobody's selling anything. It's the same engine family involved in that DPF ruling. That is not the bulletproof one, no matter what your mate reckons. The Hiluxes I'll put my name to are different. The older 1KZ pre-2005 3-litre is about as straightforward and tough a diesel as you'll find. Simple, mechanical character. On the more modern side, a well-kept example with the 2.8-litre 1GD FTV can be excellent, but check the filter history carefully and make sure it hasn't spent its whole life on short city runs where the DPF never cleans out properly. The lesson with the Hilux is this: the badge is not the guarantee. The engine code is. Buy the right one and it'll embarrass vehicles that cost 3 times its price. Buy the wrong one on reputation alone and you'll pay a very expensive lesson about the difference between a vehicle's mythology and its mechanical reality. Now, if a mechanic giving you this straight, with nothing to sell, is worth something to you, the subscribe button is right there. It keeps this channel going, and I actually read the comments. Number 2. Genuine legend country. The Toyota Land Cruiser 80 series and 100 series with the 4.2-litre diesel. The 1HZ or the 1HD in its various forms, and these are the engines that actually built the Land Cruiser's reputation, not the new twin-turbo V6. These ones. The 1HZ is a naturally aspirated inline-6 with mechanical injection and almost nothing electronic to cause trouble in the field. Many of these engines exceed 500,000 kilometers with routine maintenance and nothing more. There are 80 series cruisers on the road right now with original engines past that figure. The honest catch is it's slow, painfully slow by modern standards, particularly when towing. But for remote touring, where arriving matters more than arriving quickly, it's in a class of its own. The 1HD50 is the turbocharged 24-valve version in the later 80 series and the 100 series, and in the trade it's widely considered one of the finest diesels Toyota ever built. More torque, more grunt, more refinement, still built with the kind of over-engineering that produces engines with genuinely enormous lifespans. Here's a theory I've developed over 32 years watching these engines. There's a reasonable argument that we passed the peak of mechanical diesel longevity sometime in the mid-2000s, not because engineers got worse at their jobs, but because emissions regulations forced them to add layers of complexity that simply weren't there before. DPFs, eager coolers, variable geometry turbos with electronic actuators, AdBlue injection systems. Every one of those is a potential failure point that an 80 series cruiser just doesn't have. The old cruiser is not simply cheaper to buy. It's architecturally less likely to strand you from an electronics failure 300 kilometers from a bitumen road. That's not nostalgia, that's a factual difference in system complexity. A tidy 80 or 100 series with the right engine is a second-hand cruiser that will outlast a brand new Defender on long-haul touring reliability. The market's worked this out, which is why prices have climbed. But they're still nowhere near a new Defender. Number 1, the one I'd hand my own money over for. The Isuzu D-Max and MUX with the 3-litre 4JJ1 diesel from roughly 2012 to 2020. Isuzu's background is trucks, not passenger cars that occasionally go off-road. Trucks. The 4JJ1 was built on the architecture of a commercial engine designed for delivery trucks and light commercial vehicles where 500,000 kilometers before a rebuild is simply expected. Cast iron block. Forged steel crankshaft. The kind of bottom-end construction that doesn't cut corners, because in a commercial context, cutting corners costs operators money. Isuzu has published what engineers call a B10 rating for this engine. That figure means 90% of engines are expected to reach that mileage before requiring a rebuild. For the 4JJ1, that published figure is 500,000 kilometers, not a forum claim, not enthusiast mythology, the manufacturer's own technical documentation. Mechanics who pull these apart at 300,000 kilometers regularly find them clean inside. It's not unusual, it's the expected result of how the engine was designed. For the money, this is extraordinary. A D-Max or MUX in the 2012 to 2020 window can be bought for $20,000 to $45,000 depending on condition and specification. For that, you're getting truck-grade engine longevity in a competent dual cab or wagon body with solid off-road capability and real towing grunt. It's wearing an Isuzu badge instead of a Land Rover badge. For the people who care about what happens at 400,000 kilometers rather than what happens at the servo when someone looks at the badge, the engineering under that Isuzu bonnet is the whole conversation. The catch. Injectors are a watch item around 150,000 to 200,000 kilometers. Worth having inspected at that point. The DPF on later post-2017 models needs regular highway running to regenerate properly. Short urban cycles will cause problems over time. And the post-2023 models run the updated 4JJ3, which looks good on paper but doesn't have the long-term mileage data yet. It's the pre-2023 4JJ1 I'm pointing you at, because the data's there and it's solid. That's the closest thing on sale today to what the old Land Rover reputation was actually built on. A tough, simple philosophy diesel in a capable vehicle body, available for a fraction of the price of a new Defender. And it's completely honest about what it is. Before I finish, because being straight cuts both ways, let me name the traps. The ones people buy thinking they've found a cheap warhorse and find a repair bill instead. The Nissan Patrol TD42 is a genuine legend. The 4.2-litre six-cylinder with the gear-driven camshaft and the cast-iron construction is, in the trade's collective opinion, a 500,000 kilometre engine when it's properly maintained. If you find a GQ or GU with a TD42 that's been looked after, you've found something real. But the ZE30, the 3-litre common rail diesel that went into many GU models, has a documented history of catastrophic piston failure in the early versions. Workshop circles called it the hand grenade for a reason. Nissan addressed it after 2005, but the early ones are a serious risk. Say the engine code out loud before you buy any Patrol. The Nissan Navara D40 with the YD25 has a single row timing chain known to stretch and snap. When it lets go, it takes the engine with it, not a roadside repair. An engine replacement. I'd walk straight past a D40 without a very clear picture of the chain's history and a price that reflects the risk. The 2-litre Ford Ranger and Mazda BT50 from a specific era has an oil pump that can fail without warning and destroy the engine. Capable ute with one mechanical weak spot. Knowing about it means you can manage it. Not knowing means a very bad day. And I'll give the Defender its fair credit, because it earns some of it. Resale on a new Defender is extraordinary. Nothing in the SUV market holds its money like one, so a real portion of that purchase price comes back when you sell. Factory warranty of 5 years unlimited kilometers is genuine cover. And the tow rating of 3,500 kilograms on the 110 is warranted and supported. For buyers who tow heavy regularly under warranty, that matters. If you're crossing the Simpson Solo, towing over 3 tons, and you want a manufacturer's network that can get you apart in a remote location inside a week, buy the Defender. You're paying for the network and the peace of mind, and out there that's worth every cent. For the 90% of buyers who aren't doing that, these 5 do the durability job for a third of the spend. The Mitsubishi 4M41, the pre-filter Prado 1KD, the Wright Hilux, the 80 or 100 series cruiser, and the one I'd buy myself, the Isuzu 4JJ1. 5 ways to get genuine long-haul toughness without the 6-figure bill. The badge is not the magic, the engineering underneath it is. Buy the engine, not the reputation. And check who actually looked after it before you did. 3 rules, 32 years in a workshop, haven't found a reason to change them yet. Now I want to hear from you. What's the highest kilometre 4-wheel drive or ute you've personally owned or worked on? Engine code and everything. Drop it in the comments. I read every one, And I'll argue with some of you when I think you're wrong. If a mechanic giving you the straight picture on this, no sponsors, no advertising, no one paying me to say a single word, is worth something to you, the subscribe button is right there. It keeps this channel alive. Look after yourselves. I'm Greg. That's it from the workshop.